If you told me that Lithuania was a country of introverts, I might have had my doubts 2 years ago. My friend Sigita, perhaps the second Lithuanian person I ever met, has a bubbly, extroverted personality, and she shows no fear in striking up a conversation with strangers. Now, having been in Lithuania for a few years, I think my friend Sigita is more of a rare case, since I hear over and over again that Lithuanians are generally introverted. This type of statement appears regularly in the comments section of my YouTube channel, even from Lithuanians. I also read similar things on posts on the Foreigners in Vilnius Facebook group, and also in conversations I've had with foreigners and with Lithuanians. So today, let's explore the concept of Lithuanian introversion, how true it might be, and what might explain such an attitude, or at least the perception of such an attitude. Well, first, I think it would be interesting and perhaps fun to look at what people are saying. Not just foreigners and outsiders, but Lithuanians themselves. A few weeks ago, I put out a video on Lithuanian restaurant service and how servers in the country are less engaging than restaurant servers in countries such as the United States or the UK, and a few relevant comments were posted to that video. One person says, "I'm a Lithuanian and like the minimal interaction I get in restaurants, and I know what to expect." Someone else explained that Lithuanians are more closed people and really prefer not to talk with strangers, especially when eating. A Lithuanian commented saying, "I'm local, I agree with the video. Just keep in mind that Lithuanians are introverts. We don't need small talk and fake smiles." And another Lithuanian stated, "I appreciate the minimal interactions since I'm introverted, so less is more." There are a lot of remarks on the Foreigners in Vilnius Facebook group regarding observations of introversion or lack of friendliness. Now, I know Vilnius is not representative of the entirety of Lithuania, but let's look at what some people from this particular group had to say. So an Irishman living in Lithuania said he finds it very different from his home country of Ireland. He says, "Ireland is a very friendly nation, so you can walk to any pub and sit and chat to strangers, or go to the shops for newspaper and chat to people for hours. Strangers on the streets stop and chat to each other. I find Lithuania very cold when it comes to hospitality. People are very serious, and if you try to start a conversation in a shop or market, everybody looks at you as if you're crazy. Even on buses, people don't chat to each other. Coming from a singing, dancing, very friendly, happy country, I find it very strange in Lithuania. Lovely country and people, it's just the way they are." Responding to that post, someone living in Lithuania for over 4 years agreed and said, "I really don't know how people there can live together but still be totally isolated from each other." On another, older message thread, someone said, "I would say that in general and by default, anything or anybody different is met with distance. The differences prevail over what could be the potential similarities as humans. On top of it, there is the reserved quality that applies to all Northerners." And then someone else said, "Lithuanians are very reserved people. You need to make effort to talk and know them." They add that some Lithuanians that they have met or worked with, who have worked outside Lithuania, are generally more friendly. And so when I interviewed Tom, a French expat living in Vilnius, about some differences he noticed between Lithuania and France, he had some things to say about locals being more closed off. A lot of it is in the other video, but here it is again for your convenience.
People feel to be more outgoing and extroverted in France compared to Lithuania. That was the main cultural shock when arriving there. For example, people greet each other. If you see your neighbor or someone living in the same building as you always have a little small chat and conversation. And here I've noticed that you can spend years living in the same building, and every time you see your neighbor, you barely talk to each other.
And then somehow on this Reddit thread, someone posted a ranking of most introverted countries in the world on 16personalities.com, and Lithuania ranked number 1 at over 11%. Now, in this particular case, the poll can hardly be considered scientific research, and even many Lithuanians seeing those results would disagree. Introverted? Yes. Most introverted in the world? Unlikely. Reacting to that chart, someone remarked that someone forgot the Scandinavians. Another person responded to that, saying that Scandinavians were so closed off that they didn't even take the test. In my own conversations with Lithuanians, what I hear over and over again is that they are generally closed off to strangers, and this is the case until a stronger connection is made. This might require a kind gesture or two, or just a persistent effort to create opportunities for conversation. So I do think Lithuanians tend to be introverted, but I think the level of perceived coldness varies with several factors. Age can be one factor, with younger people being more open to making connections than compared with older generations. along this theme is just the stage of life each person is in. I would say younger people, especially students, are usually open to establishing new connections and making new friends. Older people tend to already have their social circles established and are more comfortable keeping things exactly the way they are. What part of Lithuania someone comes from may also be a factor. If you come from a small village, perhaps you would prefer to keep your social circles small. And if you grew up in a larger city, maybe you're more open to expanding your social network. And of course, there's just the basic fact of life that every single human being is different, and their personality is a result of their own upbringing and personal life experiences. For example, there was that one person who said that Lithuanians who have lived abroad tend to be more outgoing and open to meeting new people. But if we were to just make a simple attempt at explaining Lithuanian introversion and perceived coldness, what could we say? Well, speaking to Arnas from the Lithuanian YouTube channel Trečia Lentina, he theorizes that the lack of warmth could be explained with some older people associating smiling with weakness, something possibly carried over from the Soviet times. He adds that if someone is smiling all the time, it could just be perceived as being fake and inauthentic. On the topic of Soviet times, another Lithuanian suggests that during the occupation, mistrust developed among neighbors. Whether it was because someone had a problem with you or was doing it for their personal gain, complaining to the authorities about others could get them deported. And this environment caused people to keep to their own group of connections. I also spoke to Mykolas, a Lithuanian living in Japan, and on this topic, he said Lithuania has some similarities to Japan. He says, I think Lithuanians might be similar to Japanese in a way. Once we're friends, we're good friends, but I think it takes time to get close. He adds that he thinks a lot of it is language related as well, and not everyone is 100% comfortable speaking. He says, and if you want to be polite to make the foreigner in the group feel welcome, the quality of conversation you can have with your friends goes down. Also, we use a lot of inside jokes and banter with friends that just wouldn't translate.
However, if you stay here and you live here, making those meaningful friendships can be tricky, and it's something you need to be prepared for. Relationships generally take a lot more work.
I understand a lot of the explanations, as well as a lot of the frustrations experienced by foreigners. I do feel especially bad for people who are more extroverted and come from more extroverted cultures, because it must feel like everyone around them just doesn't like them. As an introvert myself, I feel mostly okay with the way things are, although I do find it off-putting when I say hello to someone I pass by in my apartment and they say nothing at all. I don't know what it is about the climate, but it does feel like the more north you go, the more introverted and unfriendly people seem, at least on the surface. And conversely, if you travel south to warmer temperatures, you also tend to find warmer personalities and more extroverted people. That's the reputation, at least. So, what is your take on this phenomenon? Is Lithuania really a country of introverts? What kind of reasons do you think could explain this? Let me know what you think by leaving a comment. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.